Okay, so I think it's starting. I think it's going. Even though it doesn't show it, but I think it is. Okay, so what we're going to talk about is the Bedikas Chametz, like a little bit just about the halachic background, like how it works and why, and then very practically how we're going to be doing it over here in the school, and what needs to be done for anybody who's going to be staying here. Okay, let me say it. Okay, don't say amen. Okay. Baruch ato Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehakol niyeh bidvaro. Okay, yeah, this is annoying to see because it's delayed. Okay, all right. So we're going to talk about Bedikas Chametz. What's the idea behind it, and how do we practically do it? So we know that the main isser of Chametz on Pesach is eating, right? That's like obvious. The whole idea of Pesach is to be not eating Chametz and to only be eating matzah. However, the Torah itself sets up fences around this mitzvah. We spoke about this in class way at the beginning of the year in the halachos of Binyan Hinashim, that there's a few examples, very few, but there's a few examples where min haTorah there are fences that are set up around another min haTorah avera, right? Like usually we're used to gezeras being derabanan, right? Like, you're not allowed to cook on Shabbos. So Chazal say you're not allowed to even warm up something on Shabbos, right? Even if it's not going to get hot, you can't even, put it down. And even if it's already fully cooked, you can't put it on a flame where it looks like it's cooking. And right, those are all gezeras b'derabanan to protect us. However, in a few areas of the Torah, there are gezeras in the Torah itself. So the one that we learned was the gezerah of Gilui Arayos, that the Torah says, not just don't commit the isser of arayos, of having forbidden relations, but those sikruvu legalos erva, right? You can't even draw near, and that's where all the other halachos and negia and flirting and all those things come from, because the Torah itself set up a perimeter fence to protect us. So the same thing is true with chametz, that even though the real, so to speak, isser, the main isser is eating, the Torah itself prevents us from accidentally doing that by prohibiting us from owning chametz on Pesach also. Okay, so not only can we not eat chametz, but we can't even own it, and that's also min haTorah. And if we own the chametz over Pesach, it's called chametz she'avar of Pesach, and you're not allowed to benefit from it ever afterwards. That's why it's very complicated in stores. Let's say like duty free or something in the airport where it's owned by Jews and they don't sell their chametz and they have lots of whiskey and all sorts of things like that. So for many months after Pesach, Jews were not allowed to buy chametz from the stores that didn't sell their chametz because it's aser b'hana, and even if it changes hands and sold, it's prohibited. So it's very important that a Jew does not own any chametz on Pesach. Now, in order to avoid owning chametz on Pesach, we do two things, really three things. Number one, we have a mitzvah of biur, right? There's a mitzvah min haTorah to destroy the chametz. It's a mitzvah of tashmisu, which is the physical act of destruction. That mitzvah is only really kicks in on Erev Pesach. In other words, if I go today and I use our blowtorch and I burn up some chametz, so that is not going to be a mitzvah of biur chametz. That mitzvah only really applies Erev Pesach. And this year, that's going to be when we are going to break up the last little pieces of pita that we have from our meal on Shabbos, and we flush it down the toilet Shabbos morning. That's going to be our mitzvah of biur, right?
Because Erev Pesach is
Because Erev Pesach is Shabbos this year, exactly, right? So even though we're going to burn chametz on Friday, that's just the derabanan. That's like a remembrance, like to make sure that we don't forget that we burn our chametz, right? So we are going to burn chametz on Friday this year, but that's not really the biur. The mitzvah.
Usually it's
Erev Pesach, exactly. In the morning, everyone goes down to the fire. Last year there were no fires in Israel. They wouldn't allow because of Corona. It was the first time, but this year I'm sure there will be. And usually, there are fires all over the place, and people just burn their chametz. This year we're going to flush it down the toilet. So that's a mitzvah d'oraisa of destroying your chametz. However, it's possible you're not going to know where all of your chametz is, if that would be the only mitzvah that we would have. So Chazal made another mitzvah called Bedikas chametz. They made a mitzvah midrabanan that requires us to go and search if we have any chametz to make sure that we destroy it and don't own it over Pesach. And that's where the mitzvah of Bedikas Chametz comes in. Okay, so it's like a preventative measure. It is b'drabanan, but it's a preventative measure to make sure that we're not going to forget that we have any chametz, by accident that's in our house. Now, even though we also do something called bittul chametz, right, which we are mevatel chametz, we declare it hefker, and this we're going to be doing once on Thursday night after the Bedika. We're going to declare that any chametz I didn't find and that I don't know about and that I forgot about and don't know where it is, I'm declaring that ownerless, right? So that way, even if I didn't find something during my Bedika, I'm not going to violate owning chametz on Pesach because I've declared it ownerless, right? But we're not somech, we don't rely just on the bittul either, because if you have chametz in your house, let's say I do a bittul, right? But I don't do bedikas chametz. And now I'm sitting at my desk at home, and I'm used to just while I'm working at my desk or learning, so I snack on crackers. So I have my crackers here in the drawer from all year round. So now, even though halachically they don't belong to me, right, because I did a bittul, right, I declared them ownerless, and we also sell our chametz, right? So even though I'm not over the isser of bal yira, bal yamatz, I'm not over the isser of owning chametz on Pesach because I sold it, right? So then why do I need to do a bedika? What do we care, right? You know what I'm saying? If I'm going to be anyway getting rid of all my chametz halachically, so why do I do a bedika? Because we don't want to accidentally eat chametz on Pesach, right? If I have chametz lying around my house, that's even though not mine, so I'm not violating any isurim, but it's very easy and plausible and feasible that I may come to eat that accidentally over Pesach. So therefore, we cover all of our bases. We do the bedika to make sure that there's nothing that's going to be out and about and around, and that we try to find any chametz that we find. That's one thing we do. We do the bittul to make sure that any chametz that I didn't find, right, I'm not going to end up accidentally owning over Pesach, right? And the sale we do for the stuff that we know we have and we don't want to destroy. We want to make sure that we, can keep it till after Pesach. And the biur, the destruction that we do, is just to be makayim that mitzvah on Erev Pesach morning, that we destroy the chametz that we have. But with this three-pronged approach, so between the bedika, the bittul, and the biur, so we have all of our bases covered. We're not going to own chametz on Pesach. We're not going to inadvertently find the chametz and end up accidentally eating on Pesach, because we did the bedika, and we're and we've done the mitzvah of biur by destroying it before. So that's the mitzvah of bedikas chametz. Where does the mitzvah of Pesach cleaning come in? So this is always funny that the people find this funny. I'll see if I can find it really, really quickly right now, just to read the lashon of the Mishnah Berurah, because everyone sees Pesach cleaning as like the what's the word? That's what Pesach is all about, more than all other aspects of Pesach. People see the Pesach cleaning is like what it's all about. So the Shulchan Aruch writes that why do we that there's no mitzvah of cleaning at all. It doesn't talk. There's no halacha or a mitzvah that says you have to clean, but it says like this, that if you leave you leave your house as it is, and you just show up to the bedika on the night of Erev Pesach, it's going to take you many, many, many hours to go through your house and to go through every cabinet in your house and all of your clothing. Like the bedika, we're going to get to this in a minute. The bedika has to be through all of your clothing, all of your knapsacks, all of your anything you have, all of your pockets, right? So if you leave that all till the night of the bedika, so you didn't do anything wrong. Halachically, there's no problem, but the bedika is going to take you many, many hours, right? So the whole halacha of Pesach cleaning is to prepare for the bedika. Right? It's just so that when we get to the bedika, we're not starting from scratch. We're going to be able to do the bedika relatively quickly because we've already gone through these rooms and made sure to get rid of all of the chametz. Right? So that's what Pesach cleaning is about. That's it says, the Ramah says, it's kedai. It's like worthwhile to be mechabe the bayis, to clean up the house before Leil Yudalid or this year Gimel, before the night of the bedika, so that you could do the bedika more quickly. Okay, but what are we doing in Bedikas Chametz? Like what are we looking for? What is that Bedika for? So now that we understand from the beginning what the structure of Bedikas Chametz is, that Bedikas Chametz is here just to make sure that we don't find Chametz on Pesach and accidentally eat it, right? That's the point. So Bedikas Chametz is only looking for Chametz that I may eat, right? It's chametz that may end up being consumed by me on Pesach, right? Because any chametz that I know for sure I won't eat, is not a problem. I've sold it and I've been mevatel it, and right. So it's only chametz that is potentially edible. So there's no halacha of oh, sorry. So that's we're only looking for edible chametz in the bedika.
Wait, I have a question.
Yeah.
Even let's say like I'm saying I have like honey and tea and stuff like I want to sell. I have to sell it, even though like it's not.
It's not
actual
chametz, but you,
but-
yeah. The truth is, for those things, you don't have to sell them because there's no chametz there. We just have to put them away for yantif to make sure that we're not going to eat them. You know
So
what I mean?
let's say like in my cubby in the kitchen, I could just like
Yeah,
walk it off.
that's
and I don't have
fine.
to sell it?
Yeah, that's
'Cause, like,
fine.
those are the stuff like I would
That's
want to
fine.
sell.
However, there's a catch with it when it comes to this, and this is where this is a big. An important point in terms of understanding all of this, because you only have to do a bedika on things that are going to be yours on Pesach. Okay, you only have to do a bedika on things that you are going to have on Pesach. That way, you might end up accidentally eating it. But anything that you're selling for Pesach, there's no halacha of a bedika. Right, so let's say if people are going away for Yantif, they're going to go away to their family or to a hotel or whatever. So they don't have to do a bedika on their house at all. If they're going to be selling their whole house, right? So with the route, they're going to be going, and I'll have to record that video also. So, thank you for reminding me. Okay, they have to sell the whole house, and then they don't have to do any bedika there because it's not going to be theirs on Pesach. They'll do a bedika in the hotel, right, or wherever they're going to be on Pesach. That's where they're going to do a bedika. But somebody who's not going to be in their house for Pesach, so they can sell the whole thing. And likewise, areas of your house that you don't need and don't want to use for Pesach, so you could sell that area, and then you certainly can't go in there the whole Pesach, but then you don't have to do a bedika there at all, right? You only have to do a bedika in the places that are going to be yours over Pesach. I remember growing up, we used to Pesach clean and everything in like the closets and the area which were closed off for Pesach anyway and sold. So there's no point to that. There's no need for that at all. That's just spring cleaning. But any area that's going to be sold, you don't need to clean for Pesach. So now let's do that the opposite. So what that means is that anything that you're going to not use for Pesach, you should sell. And then you don't have to deal with the bedika, right? So what do I mean? Let's say a person has let's just say a man, has 10 suits and 3 briefcases. Let's just say I have more like 3 suits and 10 briefcases, right? But let's say a man has 10 suits and 3 briefcases, right? But over Yantif, he's not going to use any of those briefcases because he's not going to work, and he's only going to be wearing 2 of those suits, right? So what he can do, if he doesn't do the following. If he just keeps everything regular, so then he has to do a bedika in every one of those suits. He has to go into all the pockets of each suit and make sure there's no candy bars that are there, or any chametz. He was holding on a candy from shul where they threw it for a bar mitzvah and who knows what. He has to go through all of his pockets. He has to go through all of his briefcases and make sure there's no chametz that's in any of the pockets or any of the places that are there. However, if a person is not going to be needing that stuff on Yom Tov, so then he should sell it, right? And that's what I do every year. A big section of my closet, or the closet in our room, so I just cover it over with a sheet and I say sold, and I just keep out the few things that I'm going to be wearing over Yom Tov. And all of my suitcases and all of my briefcases that I use for traveling and all those other things that I'm not going to be using on Yom Tov at all, so I just sell them all. Otherwise, you have to search all of them. You have to go through all of their suitcases and all of those things. And same thing, like let's say like this office. So there's chametz in this office, there's all different things that are here, but I'm gonna sell this for Pesach. I'm selling this whole area of the school, and I'm not gonna be allowed to come here over Yom Tov because it's not ours, but then I don't have to do a bedika here at all. Okay, so the idea is that with the areas that are being used over Pesach have to be checked, and the areas and things that are not going to be used over Pesach should be sold so that you don't have to check them. So just going back to your tea and honey, so you're better off selling that cabinet, which I'll explain how we're going to do in a school in a second. You're better off selling that. Otherwise, you have to go ahead and do a bedika on that area where you're going to be keeping your stuff. Okay, can I pull you back? I'm in the middle of the class. Okay, no problem. But yeah. Well, what are you baking? If you're doing that to avoid toveling it, then it doesn't work. In other words, you don't ever use the pan itself, and it's not meant to come in contact with the pan itself. It's never how it's used. Yeah, so then that's fine. That's fine. No problem. Okay, So now let's talk practically when it comes to the school, like, people who are going to, and this is why this is important for all of you who are listening. You have to be listening to this because this is, practical for the halacha. I just bought now, I put them out in the lounge, 4 rolls of masking tape, like that white tape, not the super.
Strong tape, really strong.
Not very strong, not
Oh, okay.
like the. Can you just go get them, please, on the counter, just so you can see what we're talking about? Not like the see-through, very, very sticky kind, but but like the
Tape.
tape. I don't know what the people call it, but I just want to make sure people know what I mean. I'm saying here in the building, because if you use regular tape, it'll peel off the paint and everything, right? So this type
paper.
of like paper paint. It's like a paper tape. It's very not. It doesn't leave behind. Usually, it doesn't peel off the paint and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So basically, what we're going to be doing is as follows. We're going to be, and when I say we, I mean you. Okay? I'm going to be doing this today just for a few of the offices, but I have a whole bunch of markers, which I'm going to give you. And basically what you're going to need to do is as follows. This is before the Bedika, before Thursday night, before, a couple of days from now. But you guys together, whoever is staying in here at any point over Yantif, or, and I say Yantif, I mean Pesach, even Cholamoid. So you need to decide together what areas are you going to be using and what areas not. Okay, so let's just start by the areas that you're not using. Okay, so let's just say all of the cabinets under the counter out there in the by the lounge, right? The shayish, the countertop over there where the water. So let's say all of those counters you don't need over Pesach at all, right? Yeah. So we're going to sell that whole area. Okay, so what does it mean we're going to sell it? I am going to write in my contract with Rav Weiss, any marked area is sold.
And we can't go
okay, and you can't, and it's closed for Pesach. You ladies are going to mark off the areas that you are going to sell, and then you don't have to do a bedika in those places. Okay, but any area that is not marked off, right? Any area that's not taped off and sold, so that means that on Thursday night, one of you, and Sylvia said she'll help in terms of dividing this up amongst everybody, but anybody who's going to be here Thursday night has to go around and do a bedika at night with a flashlight, right, with a bracha. And again, what are we looking for? We're not looking for crumbs. We're not looking to be sweeping up the floor and finding bits and pieces. We're looking just for food. So if somebody's doing, let's say, the lounge, so that means just like looking around all of the couches, making sure there's no food that got stuck in the sides of the couches or underneath the couches. It means looking on all of
we were at the Burgers and we were like cleaning the couches.
Yeah, and you found Cheerios and everything. Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Wait, so I don't actually have to do it for myself. Like I'm saying, let's say I'm going to be in my room during Pesach, but let's say Moshe's going to be here Thursday night and she's my roommate. She could do
okay, so then so the only thing that you have to do is any of your stuff that you're going to be using over Pesach, right? Let's say like your bed, that surface, so that you should check before you go, the night before you go, without a bracha, right? Because you're not doing it in the appropriate time. So without a bracha, you have to do that bedika. Or let's say you're keeping clothes in your closet that you're going to be using, right? So then those clothes you have to do the bedika, and the rest of the closet you have to sell.
Can I do it like, am I able to do it today, or has to be like the night before? Because I'm leaving today.
You're leaving today, like okay. Well, then you should have done it last night. No, whatever. But if you're not going to be here by tzeis, then you should do it today during the day. Yeah, do it during the day, and then but you're just looking over the stuff and with consciously having in mind that this is your bedika to make sure there's no food, edible food, right? Like that's what we're looking for. So the same thing here. So any area that and you can do also with your closet if you want to sell your closet and let's say just like take out 2 outfits and hang them on your bed. So then, or whatever. Okay, so then, no. Okay, I take it back. But any area that, or you could let's say like combine. You know what I mean? Like take out the stuff you're not going to use and put it in your closet, and you with your roommate take out the stuff you are going to use and put it in your closet, and that way you seal off one closet, and then you're sharing another closet. You could minimize the bedika, but if you want to do bedika on the whole closet, you can. On both closets. But the idea is that anything that you're not selling, you have to do the bedika before Pesach happens. And in a building like this, so we have to decide. Which areas are going to be used and which not. So let's say like the dining room, that whole area. So, it's been cleaned. So that just means either all the cabinets underneath the bookshelves, let's say we should tape them off and just say we're selling them, or that, you know, somebody just has to look in there with a flashlight and make sure that nobody left a candy bar or a, you know, bagel or a piece of pizza or who knows what, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That could be
Wait, so
stuff
do,
on
do we have to let you know what food we're selling, or we just like say?
No, whatever area it's in, and you know, whatever, you know, then you sell that area, and whatever is in that area is sold.
Okay.
And then you just can't go there over Yom Tov. You can't.
How do I
access it.
sell it? I just say I'm like selling?
Well, no, by marking it off,
Oh,
right?
marking
You're
it
marking it
off,
off and writing sold,
Okay.
right? And then my contract with the Rav says any place that's marked off is
okay.
sold.
Right, so what are you gonna tell you? You just can't.
Exactly. Anything that's marked is automatic.
Also, the kitchen, like the Madrid coat's room is right next to the kitchen, but I'm pretty sure like the kitchen upstairs, a lot of girls are gonna like, it's gonna probably be a marked up area, but like, I'm saying.
No, but I think they're using it. I think they're still, I think
They're
they're,
cautioning the kitchen upstairs?
I don't know if they're koshering it, but they need just like the countertops to cover so that they could use that area or not,
The
or just
kitchen
cover it over.
downstairs is gonna be open for.
Oh, I
So I'm
see, I
assuming
see.
most girls are gonna use that.
Okay, yeah, so then we don't need to sell the room, we just like cover over the
The area.
counters, right? And saying the room we can look and see, there's no chametz, it's not, you know what I mean, that's not a big deal to do with Bedikas, but we want to close off all of the counters or the you know, cabinets and stuff like that. Okay, is that
Yeah.
clear?
So-
Okay, then when you're finished doing the Bedikas, when like, you know, you're, you know, everyone's finished going through the places, and again, it doesn't need to take very, very long, because most of these areas are pretty wide open areas. There aren't many like nooks and crannies that you have to search in, you know what I mean? It's basically just like looking around to make sure that there was no food that was left around. And then afterwards, you say, it's written in Aramaic, but you should really make sure you know what you're saying and read the translation. It's, you know, kol chamira v'chamia, any leaven or chametz that I have that I don't know about, because you still are eating on Friday and Shabbos, right? So you're not making a bittul for all of your chametz. The chametz that you're still going to eat, you know you're still going to eat, but any chametz that you don't know about, on Thursday night you are already making, you know, batel, and then, you know, Friday we do a fake biur, and I mean, it's, you know, real, but it's not the real one, and then Shabbos morning is the real deal. Okay, any questions? Any questions? I can't hear you. But okay, fine, great.